So thank you for the time and place. Hello, my name is Ari Hermawan. I'm actually based out of Singapore. So it's a bit late at night at where I am today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So today I'm going to be delivering a short talk called Be Faster and Safer with EDA. I'm a sales engineer with Solace, but today I'm going to talk about let's start with the context of every company is a software company now. Right? So I have some quotes that most of you probably have seen many times before. And to me and to many people I've met, this simply means that if you look at innovations that are happening now in the IoT space, in the real-time dashboard space, machine learning space, or even anti-money laundering space in business enterprise, all of these are actually have a lot of things to do with software, right? So it's good for us as software developer, but at the same time this also means it's a fierce competition. Sometimes it means winner takes all, and this forces us as developers to work faster, to move faster, right? So but the truth is, having new features or adding new systems or even the deployment of new features that we do always feels like this, right? Always feels like it might nudge something else over, it might crash something existing. And most of the time, adding new features can be something that we are scared or we don't want to do it fast because we are afraid to change something that's already working, right? If it's not broken, why fix it? So that's one of the things that we heard also most of the time. And to make things a little bit harder for us, users on launch day is usually it's gonna be like a stampede like this, right? It's gonna be rushing in, doesn't care if you have the right capacity or not. So this might happen once, it might happen weekly, it might happen seasonal. So it sometimes cannot be expected as well. So if you can expect, that's good. But sometimes you simply don't expect a spike of traffic, a burst of traffic. Something might happen at the back end. So that brings to the question that I want to cover today: how to go fast, but not crash. At least not crash all the time. Right. So here's the idea that I want to bring. So event-driven architecture or EDA can be used to increase resiliency of our systems, our modern and growing systems, to foster innovations. So basically, EDA is not something totally new. It's been around for many years. The technology with EDA is the one actually keep on moving, keep on improving, getting better and better with more tools available at our disposal. This should be able to help us to move faster without uh, crashing a lot. Right. So how am I gonna do this? It's three key points that I want to take to you today. Right. The first one is the idea that the business events that we already have in our core systems is going to be the one. It's going to be the same one that's going to be needed by most of the new initiatives, be it new system, be it onboarding new partners, and we should stop always doing point-to-point integration every single time we need those events. Second one is introducing of choreography pattern instead of simply all orchestration. So not replacing, but adopting a choreography pattern with our orchestration pattern that's already there to improve agility, right? Second, that's the second one. The third one is for systems with high volume or traffic with burst, they should leverage event brokers to be a shock absorber, right? So when there's a spike, the spike or the increase is going to be absorbed by the event brokers, and at the same time guarantee there's no loss of request while we take that shock and keep our backend system safe. So I'm gonna go through this one by one. So let's talk about the first case. Again, the idea is new initiatives, most of them will need the same data, the same events as the rest of existing systems. So if you're in banks, in finance, it's always going to be resolving around transactions, right? Customer transactions, maybe payments and ATMs. And if you are in retail or in e-commerce, it's going to be about order created or inventory movement. And also there's another example of airline industry, whether it's a passenger check-in, a baggage has been um, landed or maybe lost, for example. So these events is already there in the core systems. Whenever you add something new, you add marketing campaigns, you add loyalty systems, they usually will need the same events. So that brings me to the first case that I want to talk about. I call this the case of the second chamber of events. So in this picture on the left is the client, the user, the consumers could be partners as well, that generates the transactions, generate the events. And in the middle is your core system. But then what we see then is whenever we need those events, another system need those events, then we need to do this core system to new system point-to-point integration, which is I put a dollar sign here because that's going to cost you time and money, right? The second problem is with all this modernization happening now, you don't really have connectivity available to the new platforms, at least not out of the box. You will need to do some kind of again integration to this new system or new sites or new environment. Also, the problem with licensing. So this happens quite a lot when you have a core system, when you need to add additional system to connect to that core system, there might be a licensing cost involved as well. So this is the first problem that I want to talk about. And the solution is what I call the case of the stream of events. The idea is you integrate once to an event broker, so or an event stream, basically on-ramping the events or onboarding these events to the so-called event stream, where the first system, the second system, or the third system on the cloud, they leverage these events from the stream, not from the core. So you don't really need to touch the core. You don't really need to add more resources. You don't really need to add licensing costs from the core systems. I've seen this happens in a few banks, for example. They realize they need some data from the core system. They start doing something similar like this, some with event brokers, some not, some with tools like ETL, some with tools like CDC. But in here, the idea in my case is use something like an event broker to create a stream. It will help you a lot in terms of accessing already available events much easily, right? So that's the first case. The second case I want to talk about is agility, right? With the system that we have now, whenever we introduce new system to the mix, the existing ones will need to be able to aware and adopt to this new system, maybe even feed data into this new system, right? It could be a new SaaS adoption. It could be you're adding a new data lake or big data system. Then everybody else needs to feed data to that new system, similar like anti-money laundering as well. Or simply you are onboarding new partner gateway. That's one of your backends, right? Then the existing ones need also to adopt. Or you have new channel for your orders. Or you have a new dashboard for marketing campaigns. So this changes how to make it a little less intrusive, a little less risky, and the okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the idea that I'm bringing now is what I call the case of the grand orchestrator. So in this picture is something that we've seen commonly in the SOA days, in the ESB days, where you have a single or centralized brain or surface that that has all the business process laid out, like, step by step. There's a couple of risks with this approach, which we've seen. We might be trapped into having a sequence of blocking calls, which is not good, which is also happens a lot when you see people start adopting microservices, but still having every single flow is a blocking call. So they move out of a monolithic where the blocking calls happens internally into something that happens externally, which end up adding more latency and more problem later on, right? And some of these steps might be bottlenecks, and some of these steps as well might be unnecessarily serial. Right? Some of those should have been parallel, should have been externalized, and in our world in event, we can say that that could be eventually consistent. It does not need to be blocking calls, right? That's some of the risks that happen as well. And also some of the changes or additions could mean a very wide deployment impact instead of deploying small portion of the system only. And the solution that I offer here, all right, I'm going to talk about is what I call the case of the best of breed concert. So it's not totally removing the orchestrator, it's having some orchestration and some choreography. Choreography means that other system can react based on the same tune or the same beat, but they are working independently. So I'm making a diagram of three different flows, which have their own flow, but they don't depend on the others. Right? This helps to again, if you are adopting microservices, it's going to help you with linear services, and of course with the correct uh, context, the bounded context. And this allows for agility with the help of something we know as routing of events. So it's not as simple as all the events will go to specific services. They can choose, like, I want to know about specific events. The other one maybe only need to know about just a specific area of the events when it happens, or maybe specific product that relates to that events. And this is done again by the help of event brokers or event stream in the middle, right? And addition to that, you are now easily support latecomers, late subscribers, maybe a new application that or new initiatives that is being built 1 year after the system has been running perfectly. So you don't need to touch the main or the central brain anymore, because you can just tap into the stream and do your own thing. So a perfect example of this is you already have an order management flow, for example. You already have your logging and audits, but then at some point of time you want to add a new thing on top of that stream. It could be a specific marketing campaign. Maybe you run a campaign and you want to measure a specific product performance. It could be a brand new data lake system that you just purchase and you want to be able to get or leverage the existing events that you already have, right? So again, not full orchestration, but a mix. And I call this best of breed because you can have a blocking calls or orchestration in some part where you really need to know exactly all these steps happen in sequence. But the other things that is slow, that is bottlenecks, that can be parallel, that can be offloaded to the cloud, for example, that can run on its own as a choreography, right? So that's the second one. The third one again is about the high volume or bursty system, right? We like it or not, this sometimes can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, right? Probably you launch a campaign and the take up rate was amazing, right? A lot of people coming in, word of mouth, maybe it went viral in social media, and you end up having a lot more intake, a lot more traffic than you have expected. Maybe same thing with partners. Maybe the business went very good and new partners start coming in and want to be onboarded real soon. Or again, the sample that we've seen before, user just stampeding into the system when the product just launched or in the last minute before the promotion ends. Or something unfortunate like one of the backend slow down. Maybe you rely on partner system, maybe you rely on something from the cloud, and they slow down, and it will bring the entire system down as well if not managed properly, right? So this is the case, what I call the case of demanding customers. The spike of requests might be happening at certain hours, and because of the backend is a little bit slow, then it will propagate back all the way to the user, leaving a slow response or bad user experience, right? And when the backend capacity become problem, it's always poor experience. Now, the idea, if the case of the advocating customer, is when you have a system that be able to absorb this shock and never lose a notification to the system, never have a failed request, and that leaves happy customers and become advocating customers. So that's the third case. And yeah, that's the three patterns that I want to talk about tonight. I'll be available for Q&A later on if anyone have coming up for a discussion.